Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Other Side, Leadership After Transition. It is me, Jeffrey Lodick. I am here today with a special guest, but all my guests are special, so I want him to feel good about himself. But more importantly, I'm just thankful that he had the time to come on the show and give us some knowledge. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Bennett. What's going on, brother? I listen real quick before I bring you on. I was trying to press the button like I was just telling you, and it didn't work. So now you're on. So I was trying to do it at the same time, and yeah, I'm a moron. Anyway, how you doing, brother?
It happens to all of us, brother. Especially in this business, because it's all like, whatever.
Right.
So
like I wasn't trained for this. I'm just kind of doing it on the fly, right?
right. Yeah.
Too easy, man. So how you doing? You coming from Syracuse today?
Yes, I am in Syracuse. Today it's sunny Syracuse, but usually it's not.
Right.
It's
a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's nice. It's definitely nice in the summer, winter. Yeah,
So it's
if you like winter sports, if you like snowmobiling and stuff, it's your place. It's the place to be. But yeah,
interesting fact for you. So me being from Buffalo, they used to say Buffalo would get more snow than anybody else, but Syracuse actually accumulated more snow annually than Buffalo did, and it's based on the fact that you're a little further away from Lake Erie and all that stuff. But we just have the bad name. Like everybody talks bad about Buffalo, but I think it's
right because it's bigger. And so what it is you've got like 3 million people. Syracuse is just Syracuse. People don't know Syracuse other than like the college. So,
that's right.
But as it goes for upstate New York cities between Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse, they have the Snow Cup every year. And it seems like Syracuse wins it most of the time.
I'm sure they do. And plus anything that has to do with competition, Buffalo seems to be on the losing end of the stick. I mean, from the Bills, the Sabres, right. Doesn't matter, man. We're just not there yet. Well, let's dive right in and see what we can discuss and learn about Bennett today and see what you can provide for our listeners, because, well, that's what we're here for, is to provide you some good information that maybe help you on your transition process, to learn from us as we've gone through it and as we continue to go through it. So if you just do me a favor, Bennett, tell everybody where it was or how it was you joined the military, what you did, because you have a couple stories, right? Because you're not just a soldier, you're also a Marine and maybe an Air Force guy sometime. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I was an Air Force civilian, so
I just got to get to the Navy somehow.
Yeah, so 1992, I was in high school. That was the year I graduated, but I lived in Connecticut, and I had literally, I'm not kidding, I was in the like the resource center where the counselors, what are they called? Guidance counselors are at. And I'm sitting there looking through a college book going, I don't really want to go to college. I played soccer in high school and I had a couple prospects to play in college, but no like scholarships or anything, but like Division II schools, Division III schools. And that was an option, but man, I was just so tired of school, period. I played sports, obviously, so that kept me pretty busy. But I'm sitting there, and they had these like, I guess you could call it a beanbag chair in this like reading area there, right? So I'm sitting there looking through this college book, and I look up, and there's a Marine. I didn't know it at the time, really, because I just didn't really. The Marines, hadn't really entered my mind. The military hadn't really entered my mind. But he was in his full dress blues. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, that guy looks like a badass. Right. Yeah. So, I kind of like took notice, but I was like, whatever, man, I still looked at in my book. Well, he came over and says, hey, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. I introduced himself. And his name was Staff Sergeant Daniels. And I still am in contact with him on like Facebook and stuff, which is pretty cool. Kevin Daniels, that's his name. So he, I don't remember what he retired as, maybe like a master sergeant or whatnot. But he introduced himself and was like, "You ever thought about entering the Marines?" And I was like, "Not until right now." Right. And that's kind of it, man. That was kind of it. That was kind of history. I didn't even tell my mother until after I signed, because I just didn't want to be influenced. I was like, I don't want to go to school. So I did that. 1992, made the mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was just I couldn't choose. Did really well on the ASVAB, but I went in open contract. So I knew at that time I was either going to be a grunt or a cook. Maybe motor T, but at that time it was grunt or a cook. When they announced everything after that at Paris Island, you're going to be a grunt. So did that, School of SOI, whatnot. Ended up getting into reconnaissance. Went through the NDOC. I had no idea what I was getting into. This is kind of a long-winded story, but
okay.
So, guy walks into receiving, has like a dive bubble in the wings, and in the Marines, they wear them. They're shiny, right? Most people know this. They don't have the subdued badges. So we're all like, who the hell are these badass looking dudes, right? With the shit on their stuff. So sorry.
Oh, you're good,
language, man. Good language,
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So, and everyone, get in the school circle. They call everybody up, and they're like, "Well, who wants to go out for recon?" And a ton of dudes raise their hand. I look at my buddy. I'm like, "Dude, what's recon?" He's like, "I think they're like the low speed, high speed, low drag guys that like jump out of planes and snipers and stuff." And I was like, "You want to do it?" He's like, "Sure." So we raised our hands too, and literally got smoked for like the next 3 days doing the NDOC, and made it through that. And then I spent the next 2.5 years at 2nd Recon Battalion. Decided to get out of the Marine Corps, so they made me a lifeguard for the last like 6 months that I was in. It was real rough.
Yeah.
But we can swim and everything. So I did that, and then got out. That was my first transition.
Yeah.
1996, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
I was married with a young daughter. Tried the cop thing for a little while. Not built to be a cop. No. Did some loss prevention security stuff. Did some strike security contract stuff. I went and got my Series 7 stockbroker's license because I thought that was going to be an awesome idea, which it could have been. Made a bunch of money, but then you're just I was a glorified telemarketer. So I was like, no, I'm not doing this either. Went back to North Carolina lived in New York for a while, went back to North Carolina. I was like, you know what? Found out my wife was cheating on me at the time. And was like, whatever, man, we're getting divorced. I'm going back to what I know. Let me join the Army. So I did. Okay. People are like, why didn't you go back in the Marines? I'm like, well, if I had done that, they were going to take rank.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I really wanted to be in special operations anymore. It's hard. It's a hard damn life, and even though it wasn't a time of war when I was in the Marine Corps, it was, there was the war on drugs. We deployed JTF 6 stuff a lot. Did a couple of different things, deployments here, deployments there. And it was just like, I didn't want to go through it again. I just wanted to kind of like regroup. Right. So, went from literally being one day a nasty fat civilian on the couch to being at Fort Drum. It's part of 10th Mountain. Very next day, no uniform. I check in with no uniforms, days worth of shave, because at that point I had no money, didn't have enough money to buy a razor even.
Yeah.
Because I gave it all to my ex because my daughter needed whatever, Yep. So I went up there. I think I had like $20 in my pocket or something. Yeah. So it was crazy. Checked in. I didn't have uniforms for like the first 3 days I was in the Army. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
So what was your MOS in the Army?
11B.
Okay. Yeah, so you stayed the same infantry guy.
Stayed infantry. And I spent the next 6 years as part of Alpha Company 287.
Okay.
Deployed to Bosnia, Egypt. Went to West Point for a summer and trained kid idiots how to shoot the AT-4 and the 9mm, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
But cool stuff. Good mission. Great freaking dudes that I met, that I was with. lifelong friends, obviously. And we got back from, we were in Egypt during 9/11. So that was being deployed abroad during 9/11 was really weird.
Yeah.
Different experience for us, obviously, watching it on AFN in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got back and I was just like, I had, gotten all hard chargy and everything. Like I'm going to, I was like, well, maybe I should go back in special ops again, just because I had done, the regular infantry thing again. And I was like, maybe it's time. But then I met a girl who's my wife. And I was like, you know what? Then we had gotten orders that we were going to deploy to Afghanistan. And I'm like, all right, do I do this again or do I get out?
Mm.
So I chose to get out, and literally got out. Like 9 days later, they stop lost everybody.
Wow.
Cause this was May of 2003.
Okay.
So I got out terminal leave in April, got out under the wire, and I went into security and was in nuclear security for the next 10 years. Started my own company for a while. That failed miserably. Got sued by a multinational corporation for trademark infringement.
See, lessons learned, man. It's a lot of fun, right?
But always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So just, I've kind of gone with that, but, in and out of government service and just trying to do my own thing and keep my head above water, and that's where we're at now.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So you actually are one of, I'm sure there's plenty of them, but for me, you're one of few people that I talk to that have actually done the transition twice. So
right.
You get out of the Marine Corps and you transition and have a very rough time. In your personal life, that's a damn tragedy. But as you're going through the transition and going from job to job, do you find that the preparation to get out, you made a decision to get out kind of without thinking about it too much, and then thinking that I'm going to be fine, and then it just didn't turn out that way? Or what is they had the transition program when I got out the first time was literally, it's probably not that different than it is. And I'm sure it's different, but the aspects of it are the same. You go to like a week's worth of classes. They teach you everything that they think you need to know about your benefits, your, employment opportunities, this and that. The one difference that I had, is that I had a job lined up when I got out, as a stockbroker. Yeah.
That was my thing. And that worked great for the first 6 months, until everything went sideways. And I had no plan B. So I'm like, well, what the hell do I do? What do I know? Well, let me go try to be a cop. And in North Carolina, because I lived in New York after I got out, and then I moved back down because my wife and daughter were still in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I was like, not that hard to become a cop. I go to school for, it's like 3 months or 6 months. I can't remember. BLET at that time. And I, got hired to work as a deputy sheriff with some podunk county down there, where I made like $22,000 a year to be a cop, to be a deputy sheriff.
Yeah.
But that wasn't for me either. So now what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
Got hired as a loss prevention manager, did that for a while, just trying to make ends meet. Anything I could do, donating the shit out of some plasma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to try and get food on the table. Right.
Yeah.
So rough, really rough, man.
Right.
Didn't really have health insurance as of, it was just bad. It was all bad. So it was one of those things, like, it's just those things that you take for granted in the military.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to prepare for your transition by getting with a mentor or somebody that's done it before. and listen to them. Don't be like, oh, it'll be fine. They're not lining up to give you a job off of base. They're just not. All those things.
Well, I think the one thing that a lot of people hear a lot is "thank you for your service, thank you for your service." It's like almost brainwashing that, hey, you're thanking me for my service. Now you're going to give me a job, but that's business. You know, what I mean, it's a little different. I do appreciate your service, which I've met people and they're very genuine about it. It's not like they're just saying it
for sure,
happenstance, but it's also thank you for your service, but are you even qualified to work for me? And I have people that
and nobody gives a shit that nobody gives a shit what you did in the military.
Yeah.
They don't. Thank you for kicking ass and taking names. Thank you for getting shot and getting that Purple Heart or the Medal of Honor. It doesn't matter. Silver Star, Bronze Star. None of it means shit.
Yeah.
When it translates to actionable knowledge in the civilian world, it just doesn't. And for you to think that it does is naive.
Yeah.
Now,
and I think that's a significant part of the mentorship and the ability to help. I mean, if I walk out without having an idea of what it is, like how do my NCOERs or my evaluations equate to resume stuff? I mean, I don't know how to do that, but a lot of the things that I've got to, or people I've worked with is that they show it. They show you, hey, this is how you make, excuse me, this is how you quantify things to make it sound, kind of the same in a sense, although it is much different, but skills are skills. And, there's some leadership qualities that we possess, but it's
Absolutely.
still a matter of articulating them. Right.
Right. There are a lot of things that cross over. The problem is that I find the biggest problem that I find with guys getting into like the corporate world per se is this mentality that they led men to combat or women. And that for some reason that gives them some secret sauce on leadership. And it, yes, it does, but a good leader is in here and in here. It's got nothing to do with you being able to close with and destroy the enemy. Or being, it's such a slippery slope that what I think soldiers, sailors, veterans in general,
right,
you need to humble yourself and don't think that you know it all, because you're a veteran. You'll always be a veteran, but these people are civilians, and guess what? They know how to be civilians.
Right.
You don't.
Yeah.
Different rules.
So
different rules.
Oh yeah. The rules change and everything changes. And what I find to be interesting is I actually had a conversation with somebody, a military guy, a veteran actually, who was frustrated at the fact that he was in for 23 years. He wanted to go into this management level position, and that he did get called for the final interview. Though it came down to two folks, and he didn't get the job, and he was very frustrated. But as he was talking to me and he was explaining the other guy, right? Because they knew about each other. They talked, and it was awesome. He said it was very informative for him, but he was just really mad because he didn't get the job, right? But the guy had been working in that same company for 23 years. So, so you look at it like, listen, you do have 23 years of experience, and I'm certain there's some things that you learn in the military, especially from leadership, but you're not leading corporate to combat. You're trying to help the bottom line, right?
And
a guy who has 23 years of experience in the same business with the culture in which they have, it's something that doesn't have to be learned. That's something that you have to do. Now, bringing a fresh face or a different perspective, it can be. I mean, it could be a great thing because change is good, but it's hard to say I want you over him when I know him and he's been here for pretty much ever.
And he knows all the players. He knows all the techniques, tricks, tips, tricks that the business has, the way the SOPs that the company runs. I mean, that's all stuff. It'd be like somebody coming from being like a commo guy, all of a sudden making him a platoon sergeant in the infantry. What? That would never happen. It would never, ever, ever happen.
We can do it, man. Commo guys can do it, man. Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
You should have said something else.
Take a grunt. How about this? We take a grunt.
I'm
first sergeant and make him a commo guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know my ass from a hole in the wall, the fills and all the shit and the stuff. I know what my RTO tells me to do. Mm-hmm. Right.
No, I got
you. Know what I mean? Yeah. So I think we all understand that stuff translates, but you've got to humble yourself and play the game for a little while. And then you know what? So take the job that they'll more than willingly give you. Mm-hmm. That's 2 tiers lower.
Yeah.
And guess what? In 3 years you'll have your boss's job.
Yeah.
Because you have a different work ethic. You have these things. Show up.
Yeah. Just be there, right?
Dress the part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you have to do. Now, my thing, and this is the biggest piece of advice that I give to any transitioning guy, get off base. And, if you're staying in the area that you're stationed in, or whenever you go home on leave or whatever, or you need to network any way that you can, and not network with like-minded folks, network with like-hearted folks, but people that are where you want to be. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a manager of like BAE systems, like a defense contractor, get on Facebook, get on LinkedIn, and make friends with these people. Pick their brain for stuff. Again, humble yourself a little bit and ask for help. Because you know what? That thank you for your service. They want to help you. But you have to ask. Yeah. And I think a lot of times guys and gals that takes a lot of humility, and they don't want to ask. I can do it on myself. I'm a badass.
Well, yeah, and I think it's a cultural thing. And what I mean cultural is, and I don't say that in the military you don't ask. I mean, hell, you ask anybody that I ever followed, I asked a million questions because I was just curious. But I also when I tried things on my own, like, hey, don't do this, and I did this, and then the ramifications, because I was trying to be different, right? But I think just think about it like this. There's not a lot of times where you're on base and a civilian person comes on, and it's changed a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's changed a lot in the last 15 and 20 years based on the fact that there's a lot more civilian contractors working together. Stuff. But when I was a young guy, a civilian comes on base and is talking to you, and you look at your squad leader or your platoon sergeant or first sergeant, and they're looking at the guy like he's an idiot, right? Because they're like, hey, don't listen to that guy. So you kind of build a wall around that guy, and it becomes us and them, right?
Yes.
So when we get out, we have a hard time asking them for help. Although,
what do they know? They're just dumbass civilians.
Exactly. That have been living in that world for as long as they've been alive. And you should
Except for guess what? Yeah. You're in that world now. That's the world you live in. Exactly. And you can either piss into the wind and get all yellow and wet, or you can turn around and just, I tell guys, play the game. Just play the game. Now, one of the things that I find a lot of guys that can't do that end up being good entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to work for the man, or they can do things their own way. And I'm a big proponent of veteran entrepreneurship. I'm not saying every veteran can be an entrepreneur, because I sure as hell can't. But I also like guys and gals, I steer them that direction, because if they can't handle the corporate world, then you know what, find a side gig and turn it into something that makes a ton of money, and then work or do it the way you want to do it. Right.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So I think there's 2 sides of the coin, and I think that the veteran, like good soldiers and service members in general that are forward leaning and always moving, they can be very good entrepreneurs, right? I mean, because that's their work ethic, right? They bring it, and you see it. They don't have to be sergeants major. They can be privates. I mean, there are people that are just good at what they do, right?
Absolutely.
So I see that as a positive, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. But the one thing I have noticed lately anyway, and it's you'll hear the stories, the great stories where this is the successful stories. So they wrap it up in a box and they put that up there for everybody to look at. And it's great to aspire to be that. But there's a million other stories happening at the same time that those stories aren't being told and shared. And the only thing I would say is a lot of folks, because they don't want to conform to the qualifications that a job, and whether that's corporate or not, I'm not saying it has to be corporate, but just other jobs that are going to pay whatever. I mean, I think the median income in America is 40,000 or something like that. So you want to be above that. We all want to be above that. But you go in there and you say, I want to make $85,000. And then they say, okay, well, in order to do that, you must possess this degree or these certifications or these, and there's those things and they just can't get that dollar amount because that's what they're shooting for. It's not so much a position, it's the dollar amount. And they're not making those qualifications. So what they do is, in order for me to get to that dollar amount, if I own a business, it'll work. And some guys are naive to believe that they'll have that instantly. And some guys are just so stubborn and good that they surpass that by hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
I mean, it's almost always a struggle, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of those things, and this is another one of those tips that guys don't understand, because for the past, 3, 4, 10, 20 years, they've had their health care taken care of and their housing taken care of.
Yeah.
Guess what? That BAH is gone, and so unless you're retired, or you get out at 100% disabled, which happens, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
A lot of us went through some shit while we were in, and that's the other thing I say. Don't be afraid to go after those benefits as long as you rate them. You know what I'm saying? I never would dissuade anybody to follow, the ratings. And if you can get medically retired from the military, more power to you. But be honorable about it. Don't be a malingering shitbag. But if you have issues, deal with those issues. The same thing with the VA once you get out. Do it. Go after the benefits, and as long as you're within your parameters, you're left and right, have some character and do the right thing, right? Don't take advantage of the system because you can. It's just this is all karma, and karma is a vengeful bitch. Sooner or later, it will come back to get you. That's why I have 4 daughters. Just saying. Okay.
I got 3. Well, I got 2 and 1 on the way, and I have a son too. The son and I have to escape, But
right. Yeah. So I think you and I are gonna have to, buy a piece of land in North Carolina somewhere up in the mountains and have a cabin on it where we go, once a month to hide,
unwind, and just hear nothing. But it's good.
So
let me ask you this real quick while we're talking, and I really. I like your perspective on it, right? I mean, it's real, and can't go wrong with being real. So let me ask you this: so you get out the second time, you struggle through some things again, but you got your 10 years now. Is that?
But I have a really good job. That was the thing. I got a really good job, paying a lot of money. And it's a lot of times, a lot of money. I was miserable after about 3 or 4 years there, though. But after, money does take the sting off some stuff a lot, especially because of that money when your family's happy and you can pay your bills and you can get health insurance, because that's the big kicker to me. Is you might make $80,000, like you said earlier, but if you're going to have the same level of health care that you had when you were in, you're going to pump out about, dental, vision, and medical, you're going to pump out about 20 G's a year just for that. So
that's significant. That's not, and people don't think about it. It's really funny that you had made mention that, because I mean, truly, even me, and this is me just being maybe dumb, right? I mean, I did my homework a little bit, and the problem is, I don't believe that yes, you can tell me something's coming, right? But when I've never experienced what you're telling me is coming, I can say, it's going to affect me until it affects me, right? I mean, there's some goodness with me. I retired, right? So I mean, I'm not in the same boat as a guy after 6 years or 8 years where there is no buffer. I had a buffer a little bit, but at the end of the day, medical, different things. I'm good with medical, but I have family that isn't. I had to pay for their insurance, and I had to pay for those things. I'm like, wow, that's actually what made me start thinking about helping folks that aren't in my situation, that aren't retired, that aren't medically disabled. They just have to go and get a job, and it's just a lot of money to think about when you're.
It's one of those instances where we only learn humans really only learn two ways. Mindless repetition and blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
And
I'm the blunt force trauma.
Right. So what I say though, is that there's a third way, and that's mentorship and using those. Why wouldn't you learn from someone else's mistakes if you could? And I understand that that's a mind shift for people though. That's something that you have to consciously do. It just doesn't come because, like you said, you got to learn it yourself. Like you can tell kids, we all have experienced this. You can tell soldiers, you can tell Joe, why are you doing it that way? Do it this way. But they still do it the way that they want to do it. Right. And then they'll learn, and then sooner or later, blunt force trauma has to come out and they're digging fighting holes on Saturday because they wouldn't do it the way you told them to do it. Right.
Did you ever work for me? I don't remember. No, I'm just
but you know what I'm saying? So what I tell you to do is you got to reprogram your mind and use other people's experiences, whether you read, whether you have a mentor. Mentorship comes in many fashions. It's not just you telling me. It's, you look at history, you look at some really smart dudes that do what you want to do. And don't make the same mistakes, because success leaves breadcrumbs, just like Hansel and Gretel, man. Success leaves breadcrumbs. And if you get on that path behind that, you can do it too. But you have to get out of this duality of blunt force trauma and mindless repetition, because how many times can you do freaking reloading drills? You get proficient, right? But that's not a way to live life.
Right.
So you've got to find an easier way, smarter, not harder. Take it to serious heights when you're getting ready to transition. Study, read, audiobooks, podcasts, anything that you can do to expose yourself to that. And don't think they're full of shit, because they're not. I'm not full of shit. I guarantee you. You're not full of shit. I guarantee you. Right?
Yeah.
This is based on our experience. So
exactly. And I love that you said humble yourself. And I know I'm going back a little bit, but it's really interesting because when I walked out of my uniform and I went back to work, and I walked in, and there was a young guy that had been out for about 3 years, right? And he was a junior guy. I mean, I think he was an E5 when he had got out, and he saw me, and he instantly called me by my rank. Although I was retired, I had a beard, and I was like, "Hey, look, I'm just Jeff."
Hey, he said, knock it off.
Funny. I was like, "Hey, it's cool." And then what I said to him was, "Hey, listen, where can you do?" And he was looking at me like, "Why are you asking me? I'm supposed to be asking you." And I said, "Listen, the day you got out, you started getting promoted." I said, "The day I got out, I was a private again. So here's the deal: you got out 3 years ago. I got out 3 minutes ago. If we want to go back to the rank structure of life, right, which there is not one really out here," I said, "but you're in charge right now, and I'm asking you to help me." And I found that to be one. He appreciated it a lot, and more importantly, we've actually become pretty good friends. It's interesting to have a relationship with someone that at one point in time, whether they hated you because you were a certain way or not, but you can actually have that relationship. But more importantly,
it's because you're a human being.
Exactly, right. But the mentorship is there, and it's funny because there is no age. It's not about, and that's what a lot of problems or people have problems doing, is looking at the people that they used to be in charge of and say, "Hey, how did you get here? What are you doing to do this?" Because, we don't know everything. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So I ask questions all the time, and it's just a good thing is I don't always look up for answers. I'm looking around. People know, people know stuff. So you got to get out there and ask them.
Absolutely. Because you only know what you know.
That's right.
And, you never know who knows what. So never judge a book by its cover. That's a huge lesson. And that's the truth. I mean, in the work that I do now, I came across, as we talk about this, you never know how it's going to end up either, because I have some exposure to a colonel that got out as an '06 ended up homeless heroin addict on the street.
Wow.
And I know privates that are multimillionaires now.
Yeah.
First lieutenants, got out as captains, whatever. You know what I mean? Now they're millionaires.
Yeah.
So you just don't know. You just don't know. So it's one of those things is just go into it with be open to the universe. You know, it's kind of woo-wooey and all of that madness, but you know, something's going on there. That's beyond us. I call it what you want. But you got to be open to it, and you need to humble yourself. Don't think that you know everything, because you sure as hell don't. And I'll be the first one to pick it away and figure out what you don't know, just to slap you in the face with it.
Well, look, I'll tell you,
unforced trauma. You know what I mean?
Take you about, I don't know, 5 to 7 seconds to figure out me. It won't take long. It won't be digging for too long.
Right. So, same here, though. So
what's that?
Same here.
Yeah, it's all right. But I have no illusion. There's no disillusion in my life that I believe that I'm. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So you did talk about your job now and what you're doing now. So I'd like to know what you're doing now and tell me how that's going for you.
All right. So I have a full-time job where basically I do this. I work as the best way to describe it is I'm a peer support specialist. I guess you could say I'm a life coach for veterans. Okay. In essence, it's a really easy way to put it. Sounds corny, but that's what I do as a day job. Like that pays all my bills, right? Okay. But I have some podcasts. But the big thing I've got going on now is I'm the co-founder and vice president of a company called Battlesite Technologies, and we have developed. Well, we didn't really develop. We have, but we stepped on and tripped over a technology that the military created, where you basically imagine taking a chem light and being able to write with it. Okay. So it's a chemiluminescent crayon in essence. So you can take it and on any surface write your message, and it will glow just like a chem light.
Outstanding.
For X amount of time. You can mark targets with it. You can mark doors with it. After you can mark triage patients with it. You can do anything that you need to do. Now, here's the kicker. We can make it in infrared too. Okay. So you can only see it with night vision or FLIR. And that's pretty powerful for the warfighter at this point. Right. Not that our enemy doesn't have night vision, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where we're really doing some stuff on maybe looking into how we can manipulate the spectrums and whatnot. So it's pretty awesome. I never in a million years would suspect that I would be like an executive of this company. Yeah. It literally fell into my lap with another buddy of mine who said, "Do you want to do this?" I said, "Bro, let's do it." Yeah. And what we did is figured out how, wrote a business plan and executed. And that was it. And
how long have you been working on it for at this point?
Almost a year.
Okay.
We've been technically a business for, it's like 10 months at this point. So, and we are really, I mean, the U.S. military has some of our infrared ones in their hands as we speak.
Outstanding. So let me ask you this question in regards to the business itself. What do you see that you learned through the time in the military? Maybe not specifically learned from a book, but learned from your experience in the military by being led, by leading people, just in that realm. That when you put yourself into the vice president role of Battlesite Technologies, you are what are you seeing within yourself that shows you that you brought with you to be where you're at and see where yourself is going, or see the success that may come?
That's the funniest thing, is that you don't. It's one of those things like you have to have enough wherewithal within yourself to just not let fear take over and execute.
Yeah.
Really. Oh shit, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I mean, I do, because I've had lessons prior to this, right? Because I put myself in those positions where I ran a company before, and it was, doing okay. And then I made some stupid mistakes. Yeah. But again, the only way that you're going to learn how to be an entrepreneur or a leader in today's business is to do it. You either create it or you find a situation where someone lets you do it. Right. Because I don't know, man. My business partner, Nick Ripplinger, is he's got a lot of confidence in me that, shit, why? It's one of those things. Yeah. It's not imposter syndrome, but you kind of have to just have to let it go and just do the job. Right. Okay. Don't complicate it. Freaking do what you know is right. Treat people well, be honest, and just do good work.
Outstanding. So,
and let your gut kind of tell you where to go. We all kind of know what to do. And you know what? We're not all CEOs or vice presidents. We're just not. I mean, I have other things going on too. And some of these things I'm a private, like we had talked about earlier. Wow. Some of these things I'm just a grunt doing it. I'm just a normal guy. I'm not like part of the leadership team. But in another life outside of that, it's like the National Guard, or whatever. Right. You've got lieutenant colonels in the National Guard that literally are like garbage men. Yeah. And you've got the guy who is a CEO of a company, is a specialist. Right. So you have to be able to be flexible and adaptable and know that you need to learn when to use your superpowers and when not to. It's kind of, again, it comes down to humility and really knowing where you can add value. And if you can add value, then step up and do it. If you can't, then just kind of like take orders, like tell me what you need me to do.
That's right. Color, right?
And there's plenty of times that I've looked at people that work for me, and I've been like, all right, so you're bringing me this info. What do you want me to do with it? Because you know what I mean? I don't have all the answers. I sure as hell don't. Jesus. Right. No. I can't even figure out what, we're having for dinner tonight half the time, so it's one of those things that don't take it so seriously. Just do good work, try to do the right thing. And if you make a mistake, own up to it, roll with it.
Well, that's huge. Accountability is a huge thing, right? Just take it, accept it and move on. So you talk about networking earlier, you spoke on it, and that's how we met, right? Through networking via social media. What has worked and what hasn't worked from you from a networking perspective? I guess I'd ask you only because I'm looking at where you're at with what you're doing with the battle site technologies. Obviously that fell in your lap. You're in order to move that and to get it to work, there's got to be some type of networking scheming, right?
I think the biggest networking tool that I have is I put myself out there. I'm honest about who I am. I'm honest about what I do. And I am game to talk to anybody. I don't have preconceived notions of who people are. And I will talk to anybody until they prove me otherwise. Okay. Right. All three of the businesses that two out of the three businesses that I'm a substantial part of, I met the guys on the internet. I didn't meet them. I didn't meet him face to face. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The third business, I met him face to face, but I didn't know him initially. It's not like he was one of my buddies from way back. Didn't serve with him, any of that. Yeah. But we figured out. So that's, you need to also get the radar of, you don't want to network with a ton of like-minded people. Now there's a big difference when I say like-minded and like-hearted. Like-hearted means they have the same values. They have the same, believe in the same, good things that you do. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're not scumbags. Let me put it that way. Right. For the most part, like-hearted people, unless you are a scumbag. And I guess you want to associate with scumbags. Right. But if you surround yourself with like-minded people, you're just preaching to the choir with everything you do, and you get no
feedback.
You get no feedback. You get no dissenting opinions. Right. Trust me, my business partners, they don't think the same way that I do. I want other people there that will call me on my bullshit.
Yeah. Well, you need it. That's how you grow. That's how you grow. Right?
Too often in this day and age, we get in these little tribes and these little clubs where everybody's speaking the same language. And I need some people that I have to work at to understand.
Right.
And vice versa. That's the key to building a solid ass network.
Right.
Is looking outside your little box and stepping outside of it and really looking for people that are going to challenge you. I mean, seriously, like if you have the way that you need to approach it is that if you're uncomfortable and it looks really hard to do, you need to do it.
Do it.
You need to turn into it's like the way that we are trained to get out of an ambush in the military, or a close ambush. We turn and we assault into the freaking ambush. Do the same thing. I mean, if you have an issue and you're like, you're ignorant about people that are, let me just take an example. People that are gay and you have an issue. Guess what? You need to go network with some gay folks. Straight up. You need to go network with some LGBT people. Because guess what? It's reality. It's here. Yeah. It's there. You need to figure out how that ticks and what you can learn and how you can enrich your life with their perspective.
Yeah.
Race, color, religion, all of it. You need to be open to it. It's not some socialistic, kumbaya around a campfire. This is like life.
Right.
Right.
It's real. All right.
We're here. Guess what? We're all human.
Yeah.
So be a good human and be part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Not just the white person, not just the black person, not just and I talk to all races, colors, creeds, and religions here. Think outside your own box, for Christ's sake. Don't we see what extremist bullshit does? It tears us apart. Enough. Yep. It's asinine. It's madness. It's Einstein's theory of insanity, right? It's if you do the same shit over and over again, you and expect a different result. I mean, haven't we gone through this with World War II? Didn't we go through it with, shit with Rome? This is why history is so important, because if you don't know it, you're doomed to repeat it. So
you're right.
Shit. I can preach, you know what I mean? I'm trying not to get on the soapbox, but
no, you're good.
I want people to think. It's changing your perspective, changing your point of view, change your POV. Do it.
Hey, so what I really enjoy, I mean, everything you just said is spot on. I agree with you. What I like about the new social media ability to network is it's the ability to truly go to somebody that you want to target. I mean, if you think about the old style cold calls, even just salespeople having to go through the yellow pages, finding people, calling them, doing that stuff.
Oh my God, that was hard work.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You got people that used to go and sit in front of different office buildings to go and wait for someone to come out that they could speak to. Now, with the ability to find people, I mean, on your phone, you don't have to go anywhere else but your phone. No. You know what I mean? Say, okay, LinkedIn or
this is
Facebook
the most powerful tool ever created up until this point.
Yeah.
Right here.
Craziness, man.
You can kill people with this thing.
You can. I mean, they kill themselves often with it driving into shit.
Right. But you know what I mean? How powerful this is. Yeah. You can run a business with nothing but this.
You're right.
Multi-million-dollar business.
It's unreal. And that's what I love about the networking portion through that is that everything's right there. So you can go and do exactly what you say, is put yourself in uncomfortable positions to talk to people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to, and actually
be a servant. Yeah. You got to approach, and don't come up to like, let's say, what's a business? Who is somebody that you'd want to meet? Like, give me a name.
Oh man, there's so many.
An influencer though, like
let's
like
just
Richard
say,
Branson. Let's say Richard Branson.
Okay.
Right. All right. So Richard Branson, holy hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a badass dude, maybe, but we don't know him, so we don't know, right? But how do you approach somebody like Richard Branson to be on your podcast, or to have a conversation with you, or just somehow be in contact with them, right?
Yeah.
What you have to do is add value to them. You can't go in there and ask them, hey, have verbal diarrhea and be like, can I ask you a question? Because these guys get those questions 6,000 times a day.
Yeah.
So how do you get in there? You get into a place where they're at on social media or whatever, and you just feel it out. You work it. It's, and that's the other thing. None of this can happen like this. But when you see the place where you can add value to that person, that's when you get noticed. That's when things happen. And this is the thing, is you have to do it from a genuine place. You actually have to want to get on a message board on Facebook and help people, right? Give good advice. Don't just be a taker, be a giver. And if you do that, you can I almost guarantee you do it the right way enough times, you can talk to almost anybody that you'd ever want to.
That's awesome. That's great. To me, I think that's huge, because that plays such a role. I mean, how I met you and how I met a bunch of folks on different Facebook groups or whatever. I might throw some out here and there, very small in certain circles and larger in others. But I remember I threw a thing up there that said, I think I was like, hey, look, who wants to come on a show, or who adds value to the transition process, whatever it was. And then it was just a matter of, I don't know, it was just a million responses came out, and I know a couple of folks were very helpful, but it's
for sure.
And it's because I think
you got to put yourself out there, right? And it's really not that hard.
No, it's not. What's the worst they can say is nothing. Crickets come, anything negative said, who cares? I don't look at it half the time anyway, but more importantly, it's, when someone says something negative to me, it is what it is. I'm too old for that nonsense. So I just move on, because for every negative person there is, or every negative comment there is, I got a family at home that actually I pay the bills for, and I work with. So that stuff's irrelevant to me.
The two most toxic things in the world are fear and a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
Because they keep you from doing anything that you want to do.
Yeah, you're right.
They might not keep you from living life and doing okay, but if to follow your dreams, those are the two most toxic things in the world. Yeah. Fear and a steady paycheck.
That's right. Complacency gets good. It's nice to have a paycheck, but I think the one for me, right? And I can't speak on everybody, but I'll say for me is every day, no matter how much I love I truly enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people in which I work with. It's a good place for me, right? But at the end of the day, I know that it's not forever. I know where I want to be, and every day I'm moving towards where I want to be. No matter what anybody says or anybody doubts or anybody applauds, I'm not concerned what the people are saying left and right. To me, it's noise. I like encouragement, but I've never needed it. I don't care about people saying negative things to me, because I've never concerned myself with that. The one thing I know about me, and this will be true, and you'll be able to witness it, is years from now, I will have been and got to where I want to be. So that's all I need, right? So for me, I just speak in that manner.
Sure,
so I try to help folks to see the same thing. And I wish people could see it from my point of view. And I don't see success in a different way. Like I promise you, man, and my vision of success for me, millions of dollars aren't raining down on my head. It's not like I'm just sleeping in bed with money. I just know that I want to be in a place where I can influence. I can help as many people as I can, because I genuinely care. And then, sleep good at night. That's hell
yeah.
Point, you know what I mean?
We have enough bullshit going on in our lives and heads that give us, heartburn and nightmares, and whether you're dealing with, TBIs, PTSD, depression, anxiety, all that stuff. you got to work to get it for it not to rule your life, and work it. And it's one of those things is you have to make the decision to not be ruled by it, not be defined by a diagnosis or some label that people want to put on you, right? Yeah. Be you, I'm being me and you be you, and do what you got to do to get the job done. That's it. Just don't shit on people and just be a good damn person. Be a good human being. And you know what? Life's easy.
You're right. I agree.
After that, being a good human being can be hard. I know. And, getting through some of the shit that us as veterans have gone through, we done, and so the last things that I'm going to give you big nuggets of info are trust, gratitude, and forgiveness, right? Uh-huh. Trust yourself and others. Have gratitude for what you have in your life, and have forgiveness for yourself and others. Because we've done some heinous shit, some of us, right? Mm-hmm. Shit we're not proud of, stuff that, if other people knew, they would not look at you in a kind light, more than likely, right? You did that because of, you were serving your country. And you know what, though? That doesn't change the fact that shit touches your soul, whether or not it was for good or bad. There's moral injury, and that's a thing. Yeah. So forgive yourself, and in turn trust yourself as well. And if you can trust yourself and others, have gratitude for what is in your life, and forgive those that have wronged you and those that you have wronged. Whether it's real or you just imagine it, trust me, that shit works. Yeah. Trust, gratitude, and forgiveness.
Outstanding, man. I love it. Trust, gratitude, forgiveness. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I always ask someone to give me you can't make this stuff up story. So I want you to go back into your time when you were in the uniform, right? So this is some years. I'm putting it back to you, right? But I want you to think of a time where something happened and it just – your civilian friends wouldn't believe it if you told them.
Right. No shit. There I was.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, man. Oh, mine's kind of the one that pops into my head. It's just kind of funny. It's not a war story, but it happened in Israel, where we were on R&R, right? After 9/11. We were on R&R, and it just shows you that the world, the politics and stuff that get in the way of the world, don't cross necessarily into the lines between people. Right.
Yeah.
So, we were partying. Oh my God, were we partying in R&R? And, there was probably a pack of probably 20, and I say a pack of 25 or so of us, right? Mm-hmm. And we went to this club, and we were just having a good time, and all the stuff. And we were, I can't remember what brought it all on, but the next thing I know is we've got these Israelis like grabbing us and yanking us up on top of this bar, right? And this isn't some sexy ass story. It is what it is, but it's what pops into my head. Yeah. So we're on this bar, and they're just, giving us drinks, and they're talking, in Hebrew, and we can't understand a word that you're saying. And the next thing you know, we're all kind of like, there's like 5 of us up on the bar. We're all looking around like, oh shit, are we gonna get our asses kicked, or what's going on? Right. Mm-hmm. And, these people that don't know us from Adam, next thing I know, they're the whole club, and this is a big ass club. Mm-hmm. They're chanting USA, USA, USA. Awesome. And that was one of the craziest. I mean, I can't go into all the details.
Right. Of course.
That was a really fun night. But it just kind of shows you how being a good human and doing the right thing sometimes, man, it just can do wonderful things. So
it does.
No shit, there I was in the middle of Israel with an entire bar full of, I mean, and there were, I'm sure that they weren't all Jews, Arab, I'm sure that there was racist colors and creeds from everywhere. And they were all with us on that night, screaming USA, supporting us. It was pretty cool.
Well, it's nice how you say that. You talk about political lines and stuff. I'm not much into politics, but what I tell you is I've been around the world a little bit, and I've really enjoyed a lot of places I've been to, and I've really never had any real horrible issues. I've had some, don't get me wrong. I mean, they exist, right? But just some of the things that you would think you'd hear, or what people do hear about certain places, and then you experience it, you're like, yeah, I would tell you that may be true in certain circumstances and maybe in certain actions because that was provoked and or just something that happened. But I've been in certain places where, well, that isn't quite what had happened, right? So it's awesome.
Right, for sure.
Well, good deal, Bennett. Well, listen, I truly appreciate you taking your time to come out and share your knowledge. I like the fact that you're down to earth and you're right there, right at it. Gave it the way it is. So let me ask you before we go, is there any way, if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they look into you or look you up and then get some information about Battle Sight Technologies and things of that nature?
So you can check out Battle Sight Technologies at our website, battlesightech.com, or on Facebook, Twitter, the whole thing, LinkedIn, the whole gamut of social media. You can find me on Facebook. I'm Bennett Tanton. That's it. I'm all over it.
Yeah, and he is for
and,
you.
And Instagram, same thing. Just Bennett. Type in Bennett Tanton, and I guarantee you, this was hard work too. I can tell you that. Talking about SEO and stuff. If you type in Bennett Tanton into Google, I'm probably the first 3 pages. But that was hard damn work. So there you go. Do Google search.
We're gonna have to talk about that at a later date.
Yeah. So just that, and I got a whole bunch of different things going on. Cigars and Sea Stories. Change your POV. Just check them out. Type them in, and there you go, man.
Yeah, those are
and
all podcasts.
Don't hesitate if you want to talk to me. Don't hesitate to reach out. Instant message me on Facebook is probably the fastest and best way to get a hold of me. So.
Outstanding. I appreciate your availability and honestly, it was instant. You reached out. I sent you a message. You sent it right back. So he's not lying. He's right there if you need him. So, hey, thanks again, Bennett. I appreciate it. For all you that came to see us, thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time on the other side.